This time, we will continue the gripping story of Squid Game Part 2. In this part, we will be shown Gihan and his friends who still have to keep fighting and do anything they can to survive in an even crazier and deadlier game. But before we dive into the plot, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, guys. Without further ado, let's get into the story. It starts with showing the participants who successfully completed the previous honeycomb challenge. After playing for a while and feeling tired, the participants were given snacks for each person. However, Doksu, Myeong, and their lackeys were not satisfied with the distribution and chose to line up again to get more snacks. But as it turned out, the amount of snacks had already been adjusted to the number of participants. As a result of Doksu and his lackey's actions, some participants did not receive any snacks. One participant who did not get any snacks became angry and tried to fight Doksu. Unfortunately, he was beaten to death by Doksu. All the participants who witnessed the incident were very surprised and asked the organizers to do something. The organizers, on the other hand, did not care about what happened outside the game and even showed that the elimination of a participant would increase the prize money. Unexpectedly, this made Doksu and his followers think about killing other participants to reduce their competition. Unconsciously, the participants began to split into several factions. They cooperated to protect the members of their own group. At the same time, a participant was seen doing something secretly with some of the organizers. Apparently, the participant was a doctor, and some of the organizers there were committing a crime unknown to the event organizers. So the organizers were engaging in the buying and selling of organs from dead participants, and the doctor was tasked with taking their organs in exchange for being given information about the next game they would play. With this information, the doctor could prepare himself before the game began. At night, as usual, the lights in their room would be turned off so they could rest. However, that opportunity was instead used by Doksu and his subordinates to kill the participants in the darkness of the night. That dreadful night was filled with screams of pain and blood everywhere, compounded by the pitch-black darkness that made it difficult for them to save themselves. Ji-hoon, Sang-woo, and Ali immediately moved to save Grandpa Ilnam. However, they couldn't find Grandpa in his bed. Apparently, he had saved himself by going to the highest point of the building. From there, he shouted for the participants to stop killing each other. That's when the organizers came and secured the situation. The room appears to be very messy, with corpses scattered around. The corpses were then cleaned up and moved by the committee. The next day, they were gathered again to participate in the next game. This time, they were asked to form teams of 10 people. The doctor, who already knew the game, intentionally chose his subordinates to be on his team because the game they were going to play was tug of war. Meanwhile, other participants who didn't know anything chose their closest friends haphazardly. Even Ji-hoon's team was filled with 3 women and an old man. As a result, their team became an easy target for the other teams. The tug of war they were going to play wasn't an ordinary one. They were going to compete at a height, so one of the losing teams would inevitably fall and die. In short, Team Jihan is going to face a stronger opponent. From the beginning, members of the team feel hopeless seeing the situation. But right before the game starts, Grandpa Ilnam shares the tips and tricks that he used to use when playing tug of war. What they need now is teamwork and trust in each other. At first, Grandpa Ilnam trick works, but unfortunately, because the other team is very strong, they still can't beat them. Up until the final moments of the game, Sang-woo led the team members to take a bold step forward by instructing them to move 3 steps ahead, causing the opposing team to stumble and fall. Although they were hesitant at first, in the end, thanks to this move, they were able to turn the tide and eventually win the game. At the end of the game with 80 participants, now only 40 participants remain. After the game is over, as usual, a doctor will be called to perform organ harvesting surgery. At that time, Jun-ho, who is still in disguise, is asked by someone to participate in the organ delivery. That's where Jun-ho sees what the doctor and the person are doing, taking important organs from the bodies of eliminated participants. These organs will later be sold so that they can get money. After completing his task, the doctor demanded his reward from the organizers, but they claimed not to know what the next game would be. This made the doctor very angry, as he knew that if he did not get any information tonight, he would be killed with his surgical knife. He then brutally killed one of the organizers. Afterward, he fled the labyrinth room and was chased by another organizer until they arrived at the previous game room. There, the organizer tried to calm the doctor down, as he did not want the frontman or the organizers to know their secret. Unfortunately, the commotion was immediately discovered by the frontman. He didn't want to waste any time, so he immediately killed the organizers and the doctor. The frontman actually didn't care too much about the crimes they committed behind his back, but in the game, he highly valued equality. He doesn't want any participant to be treated specially there. He believes that every person deserves an equal chance to fight for their life fairly. At the same time, Jun-ho and a committee member sneaked in through a secret door. They were assigned to deliver the previously harvested organs to the buyers. Unexpectedly, after passing through the secret passage, the committee member threatened Jun-ho with a knife. Apparently, the committee member had been suspicious of Jun-ho all along for acting strangely to protect himself. Jun-ho pulled out his gun, and with it, he killed the committee member and sneaked into the frontman's room. Meanwhile, the frontman and the committee members saw another dead committee member with a gunshot wound to the head. The frontman was convinced that the bullet came from a police gun. As a result, he immediately ordered all the committee members to search for the intruder. Meanwhile, Jun-ho, who snuck into the frontman's room, tried to gather information about his brother from dozens of files there. He found out that his brother had indeed been a participant in the game. After that, it was time for the next game. On the way to the game room, they were shown the dead body of the doctor and other committee members. The frontman officially apologized and warned them that the same fate would happen to them if they cheated in the game. This time, they were asked to pair up with each other because the current number of participants was 39, which meant that one person would not have a partner. At the time, no one wanted to pair up with Grandpa Ilnum because they were afraid that the game would require physical strength. Feeling sorry for him, Gihin decided to pair up with Grandpa Ilnum. At the end of the partner selection, Ryung was left without a partner. As a result, she was taken by the committee to another room. In the game room, each participant is given a bag containing 10 marbles to be collected within 30 minutes. The winner is the participant who collects 20 marbles at the end of the game. Participants must compete against their respective partners. Ji-hoon is partnered with Grandpa Ilnum, but he is trying to make him aware because at that time his illness is recurring, causing him to be indifferent to the game and walking around the arena. This makes Ji-hoon panic, and he ends up yelling at Grandpa Ilnum. This causes Grandpa Ilnum to become aware and willing to play with him. They decided to play a guessing game where they only needed to guess if the number of marbles in their opponent's hand was odd or even. Earlier, the grandfather Ilnum had been consistently shooting correctly, which made him win a lot, and it made Ji-hoon even more panicked. Meanwhile, Sang-woo, who was paired with Ali, decided to play fair in the game. Ali ended up winning and getting a considerable amount of marbles. Ali felt guilty and didn't want to harm Sang-woo, but someone had to die. Sang-woo, who had already lost, decided to take advantage of Ali's innocence and tricked him. He took all of Ali's marbles and replaced them with rocks, allowing him to escape from the game this time. On the other hand, Sae-byeok, who was paired with a woman named Jeong, chose to spend their 30 minutes talking. From there, Jeong realized that Sae-byeok was more deserving to live than herself, given that Jeong had been living alone all this time with nobody waiting for her. Free because of that, she decided to give in and let Sae-byeok escape from the game. Returning to grandfather Ilnam and Gihin, at that time, Gihin only had one marble left. That meant that with just one more step, grandfather Ilnam would win the game. Gihin mistakenly guessed on his last chance. But due to his illness, grandfather had a relapse and forgot Jihan's guess. Because of this, Jihan changed his guess, and he managed to win. Jihan continued to use this strategy to try to turn the game around until eventually, grandfather Ilham only had one marble left. Grandpa Ilham suggested that they play one more round, but with Ji-hoon risking everything. Upon hearing this, Ji-hoon felt it was unfair because he had 19 marbles while Grandpa Ilham only had one. However, Grandpa Ilham said that during the previous game, he knew that Ji-hoon was cheating, but he intentionally let him do it. Upon hearing this, Ji-hoon felt sad and guilty. Grandpa Ilham then reached out to Ji-hoon, gave him his last marble, and thanked him for taking care of him during his stay. Thanks to Ji-hoon, Grandpa Ilham was happy in his final moments of life. Right after saying this, time ran out. Grandpa Ilham, Ali, and the others were then eliminated and shot to death.